Since the release of Toy Story way back in 1995, Pixar has become a powerhouse in the field of animation, turning out brilliant story after brilliant story, all with beautiful visuals, emotionally deep plots, and amazingly memorable characters, stuff that we loved as kids and still love as adults.
Let's talk more pain, Marshmallow Boy!
With the recent release of Pixar's Onward, as well as their upcoming movie Soul, the studio isn't slowing down anytime soon. You may have caught our episode on Pixar Villains where we broke down which characters were the most evil, but today we're gonna flip things around and look at the good and the most pure, the heroes.
I'll not let you kill my mother.
Pixar's heroes are well written, relatable, and all around entertaining. Many are flawed, but that's what makes them great. But we want to know which Pixar heroes are truly the most good, and it wasn't an easy task to figure out.
Either he's in trouble or he's going to be.
I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Pixar Heroes, good to most good.
I always wanted a pet that could kill me!
Now we'll be taking a slightly different approach here. We'll be starting off with the least good and working our way up to the most good character. And generally speaking, when we say heroes, we're referring to the main characters, which is where things get a little murky. Some Pixar movies or series have two protagonists, and admittedly, there might be a little debate regarding who counts as the protagonist. Technically, one character of the two is often the more important, but we decided to include many of the most significant deuteragonists as well, and also a couple of the other important hero characters. We've done our best to compile a full list. Now, let's get started. Starting out in the darkest end of the morality spectrum, we have the lowest ranking protagonist, Merida.
I want a spell to change my mum.
We've said it once and we'll say it again. Merida is likely one of the most selfish Disney princesses to date.
I'll be shooting for my own hand.
Granted, much of this can be chalked up to her own immaturity, and she does ultimately grow. She's definitely worthy of the least good title when it comes to Pixar heroes.
I'd rather die than be like you.
Yeah, she's put in an unfair situation at the start of the movie, but she still acts with total selfishness and with little regard for those around her, even with her family, and especially her own mother. She ultimately gives her mother a cake that transforms her into a bear, which is really a rough start for a hero, to be honest.
It's a peace offering. I made it. For you.
And this all could have been avoided if she wasn't so selfish from the start of the movie. Ultimately, she does admit to her mistakes, and she does grow as a character while showcasing her bravery. But it certainly takes a while.
Get back! That's my mother!
Which is why we have to place her at the bottom of our ranking. Moving on to the second least heroic hero, we have Arlo from The Good Dinosaur.
Get away! Get away! Get away!
Though it was one of the least popular Pixar movies, it has a typical Pixar heartbreak we've come to expect.
Don't worry, Mama. I won't let us starve.
Once afraid of everything, from chickens to loud noises, Arlo begins to grow as he makes the journey home with the aid of a human he names Spot.
Spot! Come here, Spot, come here!
While we feel bad that he's a kid who lost his dad and is separated from his family, there are just too many times during the movie when Arlo tries to make excuses for not being brave.
I'm not like you.
You're me and more.
He initially tries to get out of feeding the chickens and free Spot just to get the human away from him.
What are you doing? Just leave! Flee!
We're glad he's forced to grow as a character, becoming braver and learning to protect what he cares for, even saving Spot in the end. But it doesn't excuse his selfishness and complaining for the majority of the movie. That said, this is a list of heroes, so these aren't exactly sins, but this all places him pretty low on the list. Moving on, we're actually going to rank Remi and Linguini together. They're certainly not bad guys, but their heroics only affect a small group of people, mainly the staff of the restaurant. They're both selfish and giving in their own way, which, truthfully, makes them quite relatable.
I've been selfish. You guys hungry?
Remi wants to live out his passion and helps Linguini as thanks for sparing his life. Linguini spares Remi so he can save his job and be successful for once in his life.
Do you think you could do it again?
It's a bit transactional, but their good does shine through. They do their best to meet each other halfway, and considering the fact they're so far apart,
We really did it tonight.
one being a rat and one being human, they make a good team. They even make up and try to help each other after a fight, and go on to make the best lives they can for themselves after Gusto's closes.
Thanks, little chef.
Moving on to Lightning McQueen from Cars. His character honestly was downright insufferable to start with all the fame going right to his head, or rather, his hood?
And am I sure I don't have a crew chief? No, I'm not, because I'm a one-man show.
But we do see improvement from him as he grows and learns more about those around him, but he still is full of himself. I mean, he has his moments, helping the king finish the race after he wrecks, and giving his last race to Cruz to help her live her dream.
Today's the day, Cruz. You're getting your shot.
The point is, he definitely evolves into a more sympathetic, understanding, and selfless character throughout his journey. On the topic of cars, now's a good time to move on to Tow Mater.
My name's Mater.
Mater?
He lives a simple life, helping anyone he can. He was Lightning's first actual friend, seeing him as the person, or, car he is, rather than just seeing the fame.
What's your name?
You don't know my name?
He saves an entire mass of cars in the second movie. He does his best in every situation, is loyal, and an all-around good automobile. He definitely deserved to be knighted by the Queen for his bravery and outsmarting of the villain in Cars 2.
McQueen, McMissile, McQueen.
Jack, the jack-of-all-trades infant, gets a quick mention here. Being so young, it's tough to rank his morality. Being a baby, he's invested in instant gratification, only becoming visible when given the promise of cookies.
Okay. You're not okay.
Oh my God!
Okay.
He proves during the showdown in The Incredibles 2 that he has an understanding of good and bad, but we kept his ranking lower just because he's too young to really gauge his ethics entirely. Now we have joy and sadness. How the heck do you rank the morality of emotions? Joy, an energetic and optimistic being. Sadness is sad.
I'm sadness.
Oh, hello.
But we all know what they say about opposites. They attract, and that's why we decided to rank them together. They impact one life in particular, Riley. We can argue that their impact on the world in general is small in that sense, but the movie did a fantastic job of showing how when a child is going through depression, it also affects the people who love them the most.
I get it. You need some alone time.
Joy says she only ever wants Riley to be happy, but as we all know, we can't appreciate the good times without recognizing the bad ones. Sadness understands this. While her methods are stressful and annoying, she does try to help Joy get back, knowing the impact it will have on Riley's behavior. She was also the one who ultimately stopped Riley from running away, saving her from being seriously hurt and helping to mend a family slowly falling apart from stress. On to Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University. We're gonna rank Mike next.
Raz, my tender, oozing blossom, you're looking fabulous today.
He and Sully actually go on to grow quite a bit since their time at university. At times, he seems vain and obsessive or even neurotic, and in Monsters, Inc., he does seem to care much about Boo right away, although that does change.
That thing is a killing machine!
But when push comes to shove, he's able to put things behind him for the sake of his friend, and help Sully against Randall and Waternoose. His determination early on is also admirable, and his stubbornness can actually be seen as a positive, given he's driven to do the right thing. And he definitely gets big points for that touching moment where he presents Sully with Boo's door, which he spent God knows how long reassembling.
Sorry it took so long, pal. There was a lot of wood to go through.
Mike is a good monster and a good friend. Moving on to one of the newest Pixar protagonists, we have Onward's Ian. Totally anxious more times than not, he's a sweet kid who doesn't want to upset anyone around him.
I mean, the party, it was never actually happening. It was just this huge misunderstanding.
More importantly, he wants to be a man his father would be proud of. He does get into conflict with Barley a lot, and it's even revealed that he thinks his older brother is a bit of a screw-up.
But you don't have a clue, and that's because you are a screw-up.
But that said, he does warm up to Barley's methods of doing things and gives up his chance to meet their dad so Barley can say goodbye.
I never had a dad, but I always had you.
And that says a lot about his character. And then of course fighting a dragon made of energy gets him some serious bravery points, man. Dash is next on our list. Helen was right on the money when she said that he's a show-off, and that's a bit of a dent in his character. But to be fair, we would all likely do the same. While he's impatient and does unintentionally destroy most of what he comes in contact with, he also saves old ladies from flying cars, even straightening their glasses, and makes sure his brother and sister are safe. Reckless, but there's no denying he's a very good kid.
Rockets! Launch the rockets! Launch the rockets!
Moving to his sister, Violet. Like many teenage girls, she's a bit of an emotional wreck.
I hate superheroes, and I renounce them!
She's determined to prove herself and is confident when she can freely use her powers, but she tends to lash out at others when she's forced to hide who she is. It's understandable that she wants to be open and be seen as strong. When her mother begins working for Winston, there's an undertone of resentment, since her mother is doing the very thing she always told Violet not to do.
So Mom is getting paid to break the law.
The oldest Bard child is also seen as sympathetic, once it sinks in how much her father's been doing, taking up some work to help so he can rest.
I thought it was best to just let you sleep.
She's not the perfect kid, but no teenager is. But she's done so much good that you can't fault her for much.
I should stay here with Jack.
On that note, we're going to place Sully here, ranked higher than his buddy Mike. Let's start out with the fact that Sully has a really big heart. Even believing that children were dangerous, it didn't stop him from protecting and taking care of Boo.
Don't you ever run away from me again, young lady.
Sully, without doubt, is a protector who's driven to do the right thing, even when faced with putting his career, reputation, and even life on the line.
She's home now, just leave her alone.
Sure, we definitely see a much more cocky and selfish side of him when he was younger in Monsters University. He even treats those around him, including Mike, poorly.
You're not even in the same league with me.
But we can likely chalk that up to him being young, and it's clear that he evolved and grew for the better as a monster, considering he's portrayed far more favorably and honorably in Monsters, Inc. Good kitty.
Ooh.
Kitty.
Going back to Onward, let's also throw in Barley, who we rank just slightly more good than his brother.
Boy of 16 would have his strength tested in the swamps of despair.
He's obsessed with a historically inspired role-playing game resembling Dungeons & Dragons.
You can be a wizard!
And is very upfront about what he's passionate about. Barley has nothing but pride for his younger brother, Ian. He's incredibly encouraging, and this really showcases what a good guy he is.
My brother is a wizard!
He helps Ian with everything that he can, and is even quick to forgive when wronged. He clearly cares for his family more than anything, reduced to tears when he thought he would lose Ian in the bottomless pit. Truly a wonderful guy.
That's amazing!
Next are Marlin and Dory. One, a dedicated father who overcame his fear of everything to save his son, and the other, the most giving creature on the planet, who strives to help a fish she's never met before, just to reunite a family.
Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Now, one could argue that their journeys in the films only affected Nemo, Marlin, and Dory, but we see for ourselves that isn't the case.
Have you seen an orange fish swim by? It looks just like him!
The story of their first adventure is spread all over the ocean and clearly inspires others. The second movie then shows us how others are impacted, with Hank, Destiny, and Bailey gaining the courage to live in the ocean again.
It's your destiny, Destiny.
Well, why didn't you say so?
They not only inspire a lot of other creatures, but they reunite two families and merge them as one. No doubt that they help each other a tremendous amount, and both characters are incredibly brave and determined. Alright, on to Toy Story. We're placing Woody next.
Reach for the sky.
His unconditional love for Andy is definitely worth noting, as is his loyalty to both Andy and his friends.
We're here for Andy when he needs us. That's what we're made for, right?
At his best, he's brave, loyal, and a leader who's able to keep everyone around him safe. Woody looks at his friends as his family, and he does anything for them and keeps them together all the time, even when struggling with his own doubts. But despite his mixed emotions, he tries his best to not show them to his friends, so they can feel protected and secure.
That means we're busting out of here tonight.
Now, with that said, Woody is one of the most tactical and developed characters in the franchise, and out of spite and jealousy, he tried to trap Buzz behind a desk and accidentally knocked him out a window.
It was an accident, guys, come on.
And although he grows tremendously in the first film, it does take him a while to overcome his spiteful and jealous feelings.
We're almost there!
Additionally, he sort of thrives off being at the top of the hierarchy in Andy's room.
There has been a bit of a mix-up. This is my spot, see?
Something that he even struggles with when adopted by Bonnie. All that said, despite these flaws, Woody is a true hero, and when push comes to shove, he'll put himself in danger to help any toy in need. Moving on, we decided to do another dual ranking here. Up next, we have Carl and Russell from Up. Now, to preface, this particular film has one of the most heartbreaking plots in the Pixar library. Carl starts his life full of hope and love, and then becomes consumed with fear and bitterness.
Yes, you. Take a bath, hippie!
We really can't hold this against him much. It's such a human struggle that you feel for. You totally understand it doesn't make him a bad person. The man is grieving after all. But fortunately, in comes Russell, who unknowingly joins Carl on his adventure in South America.
Please let me in.
No.
The relationship between the two, as well as the understanding that his wife would have wanted him to be happy, is what allows Carl to move on and find happiness again.
Blue one.
Red one.
Blue one.
Gray one.
Russell's innocence is totally pure, and once Carl embraces everything around him, he becomes incredibly brave and heroic. The way these two grow, becoming closer as they start to meet one another halfway, is heartwarming, and for that reason, we felt that they must be ranked together. Not only do they save one another, but they work to save a species from a totally maddened ex-explorer. What a journey.
I'm sorry, Kevin. Let's get you out.
She may not be considered a main character, but she comes very close. Next is Toy Story 2, 3, and 4's Jessi. While Woody is reserved and thoughtful, Jessi is enthusiastic and acts spontaneously pretty much all the time.
Sweet mother of Abraham Lincoln, the prospector! He'll wanna meet ya!
Her bravery is evident throughout the movies, especially when she's willing to risk her heart again by going to Andy. Jessie's very loyal and honorable, and like Woody and Buzz, is willing to help toys in need of help. Although one can argue Woody may be the better leader, Jessi doesn't seem to have the spitefulness that occasionally reveals itself in Woody's character.
Why didn't you say so? Let's go!
However, she has some flaws, caused mainly by her rough past, making her feel resentful and with no purpose. In Toy Story 2, she acts a bit selfish when she finds out Woody plans on going back to Andy.
Great! Now you can go.
Fortunately, after Woody saved her life, her hope and optimism is restored, and she becomes a brave and selfless character once again.
And I'd rather rot in this dumpster than join any family of yours.
Moving on to Miguel. Now, Miguel's behavior isn't always perfect, such as lying to Hector about Ernesto being his only family, just so he can live out his dreams.
You said De La Cruz was your only family.
However, can we really fault a little kid for wanting to pursue his dreams, especially since he's been shown essentially no support by his family and those closest to him?
You will listen to your family. No more music.
Truthfully, most of the movie shows Miguel in a very positive light. He tries to think of a way for Chicharron's character to live on when the boy witnesses the final death.
But I've met him. I could remember him when I go back.
Miguel is willing to accept that he has to be the one to earn his own blessing to return home by performing for the first time. And he even helps Hector to regain his when the two are trapped in the sinkhole by showing him a picture of Coco, saying afterwards that he was proud to be the man's family.
I'm proud to be his family!
Miguel is also the only person in the family to stand up for Hector against Imelda, and even willing to give up his dream for music just to make sure Hector can see Coco again. And just to make absolutely sure that this wish became reality for the man, the very first thing Miguel did when he got back from the land of the dead was run straight home and remind Coco of her papa, going to sing the song that she and Hector always sung together, giving the woman a sense of hope she had almost lost.
My papa used to sing me that song.
Next up, we have Hector from Coco.
This is you?
Muy guapo, eh?
At first, it may seem like Hector is deceitful, since he's always lying, dressing up as celebrities, or sweet-talking agents in order to achieve what he wants.
That was a lie, and I apologize for doing that.
But it's revealed why, and you totally understand his reasoning. He gives Miguel advice to calm his nerves and build his confidence, and encourages him on stage.
You can do this. Grab their attention and don't let it go.
And really only gets mad at him for choosing his love of music over his family, which makes sense, given the fact that he knows the consequences. Hector reveals that all of his deceitful actions and desperation to cross the bridge was just so he can see his daughter again.
I just wanted to see her again.
All he wanted was a chance to get to see her one more time before he disappeared completely. In this moment, we're introduced to the caring, gentle side of Hector's personality. Even when hearing Miguel lie to him, he seeks the boy out to get Miguel back to the land of the living.
He was just trying to get me home.
Hector then further proves how pure of heart he is when he comforts a crying Miguel, even when he believes this is the grandson of the man who murdered him.
It's okay. It's okay.
He's a truly loving and caring man of great moral character. Next is Frozone. No, he's not the main character or even one of the main characters, but we couldn't leave him off the list. He is a hero after all. He's the even-headed super of the movies. He always tends to show up just when he's needed, whether it be saving a train from plummeting to the ground or keeping the kids from being kidnapped.
Incredible! Windows down! Dive in!
He's always shown that he's a great support system to Bob and Helen, always there to offer his home when needed.
You know the offer still stands.
You're very generous, but there's 5 of us.
What a guy. Not the main character of Inside Out, but heck, he's a hero. Next is Bing Bong.
Candy. Try the caramel, it's delicious.
Ooh.
I mean, come on. How can you not love this guy? He's just too pure.
I was looking for, diversion!
What?
So long, sucker!
And his sacrifice alone ranks him high up on our good list. Bing Bong. Gone, but not forgotten.
Take her to the moon for me. Okay?
And now Mr. Incredible is next. Bob is a great dad and husband without a doubt. He does everything to protect his family and sticks to his guns in just about any situation. Granted, his strong convictions do lead to some problems. Right when we see his courage in the first movie, it's obvious he has good intentions, but whether it's bad luck or poor timing, it never seems to translate the way he means it to. Saving a jumper only led him to being sued for hurting the man's neck.
Hey, I saved your life! You didn't save my life, you ruined my death!
Training to help fight robots made Helen paranoid that he was cheating.
How soon can you get here?
I'll leave tomorrow morning.
Trying to get Violet in the same room as Tony to work things out made him out to be an embarrassing dad.
Normally, she doesn't ever drip like this.
He's a great man, but he needs to be better at admitting when he's in over his head. That said, he pulls through, and there's no taking away from the fact that he's a hero, willing to do anything for his loved ones. He's brave, courageous, and selfless. A true super. To infinity and beyond! Did you really think we'd forget Buzz Lightyear?
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
Yeah, we're ranking him higher than Woody. The reason being, Buzz doesn't struggle with any sort of selfishness like Woody does. He always prioritizes what's best for everyone else.
Watch yourself. Pals, who goes there?
Between him and Woody, Buzz is also arguably a better and more present leader. When Buzz has a mission, he goes through all the way to the end, whether it's rescuing Woody or even enlightening him and bringing him back to his principles.
We have a friend in need, and we will not rest until he's safe in Andy's room.
Buzz's bravery, courage, optimism, and loyalty are unquestionable throughout the series. This was shown several times when he was willing to rescue a defenseless person, even if the odds were against him. Buzz certainly goes through his own existential crisis, but can you blame him? And even when he was totally delusional, under the impression that he was a space ranger, he still acted with the honor befitting of the imaginary rank and organization.
I'm Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger, Universe Protection Unit.
But afterwards, he's nothing but brave and willing to protect anyone in need.
Do something quick! Shield your eyes!
Rounding out our superheroes, we have Elastigirl, the supermom of the family. She's proven that her family and their safety is her top priority. In the first film alone, she saves her children from a plane crash, goes to save her husband, and then helps to stop a giant robot.
Everything is all right.
She punched out Mirage, but considering she feared Bob was cheating on her, it makes sense why she interpreted things the way she did. And the second film really places her as the most righteous super in the family. Putting her family before her fears to come out of retirement is a brave thing. Sure, she was breaking the law, but it was either have her family thrive while only she was at risk, or getting kicked out of the motel and be homeless, since it wasn't likely for Bob to find another job.
One of us has got to get a job.
One of us?
And we can't forget the fact that even though Evelyn tried to kill her, Helen made sure to save Screenslaver, proving she's above petty vengeance. That says a lot about her moral compass. We totally get why Winston is such a fanboy and wanted her to be the face of the superhero movement.
Hey, it's working!
Okay, so we went back and forth on these characters, but ultimately decided to rank them together here. Next up, with the Silver Medal of Good, we have both Wally and Eva. The Incredibles may have saved the city and helped all the supers, but these two lovable robots saved planet Earth from dying off, not to mention the human race from devolving any further.
Pour water on them, and they grow food like pizza.
Now, full disclosure, this was a really close call for top pick, but we decided to throw them the Silver Medal for Good. But we have to hand it to them. They saved Earth, which makes their accomplishment the most grand. Now, one could argue that they're just machines. They're going off, at least in part, their directive, but they defy it, so they have as much humanity as any other character on this list. For example, even before they had the showdown in the ship fighting Otto, Wally proved his giving nature by protecting Eva when he thought she was unwell. Even when looking for her on the ship, he stopped to help anyone he came in contact with and was always a polite ray of sunshine. His actions resulted resulted in some of the humans on board helping to fight back and realize they didn't need to be slaves to their daily routine.
Otto, you are relieved of duty.
Not to mention being literally crushed to protect the planet. Wally, you're too pure for words. The subtext has been noted in the past that Wally and Eva represent the purity of Adam and Eve, but unlike that biblical story, the two never fall from grace.
Wally.
They're totally pure and good from start to finish.
Eva? Wally?
Now we get to perhaps one of the most forgotten Pixar heroes, and perhaps this will be a bit controversial, but we're giving the gold medal for most good Pixar hero to Flik from A Bug's Life. One of the earlier Pixar movies, it's not often mentioned. A sad fact since it has a great story with one of the most giving and selfless heroes ever.
Leave her alone!
Flik is an optimist and well-meaning inventor. He spends all his time trying to make the lives of his colony easier, knowing very well he's seen as a screw-up and a failure.
Trying to help.
Despite the lack of respect and mockery, he still does everything he can to try to better the lives of those around him. Yes, he does make some rather big mistakes. We won't deny that, but they were completely accidental, and even afterwards, he does everything in his power to correct those mistakes and save the day, putting his own life in tremendous danger as he embarks on what is essentially an odyssey. And really, the fact that he's so tiny and physically weak only showcases his bravery more. He does his best to not let life get him down, and even when pinned against the wall, he refuses to give up. He leads the colony to construct a bird to scare the grasshoppers off, utilizing sheer bravery and ingenuity. He helps rescue Dot, and he defeats Hopper, giving all of his people a better life. Flik is nothing short of a legendary savior. Well, that's our list. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments section below. Be sure to check out the rest of our Good to Evil playlist, and feel free to recommend any other list. Also, check out our gaming channel 1UP Binge for rankings of our favorite game characters. Most importantly, stay wicked.